Allison Rosen. Allison Rosen is your new best friend. Allison, with her the good times never end. Allison Rosen, doing the wavy pencil dance again. Allison Rosen, Allison's your new best friend.
Hey everyone, hi, hello. Welcome to another exciting episode of Allison Rosen is your new best friend. I am sitting here in my studio with Tony Thaxton. Hello.
Hello, that's me.
And my guest, you know him from Pod Yourself a Gun, where first they were recapping the Sopranos podcast, and I came on a couple times and hooked them up with a great guest, which
Yes,
I'm sure we'll get into.
Oh, yeah.
And now they're going through The Wire. He is a comedian. He is a writer. He appears on Good Mythical Morning. He just had a baby. Please put your hands together for Matt Lieb.
Hey, thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
So glad to be here. So glad to be in person. I haven't done an in-person podcast in years, actually.
Really?
Yeah. It's all been Zoom since like 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yes, because Vince Mancini, which is how I met you, with whom you do Pod Yourself a Gun, lives in Fresno now.
Yeah. So he was, I'm trying to remember, like time is all messed up in my head. I don't remember when he moved. I think he moved before the pandemic. So we started doing, he was living in LA and we had a great little life together, you know. We would hang out all the time. We would podcast together. And
In person.
I would go to his house. I would pet his dog. And then he fell in love with his now wife. And she lived in Fresno. Oh. And so he moved back to Fresno because that's where he's from. So, she stole him away from me.
Why didn't she move here?
That's what I said.
You're here.
I know. That's what I said.
And LA is here.
That's what I said. I was like, why move to be with the love of your life when the love of your life, if she truly is that, will give up her job and her family?
Oh, she's got all that in Fresno?
She's got a whole bunch of stuff, but I mean, so what? We have Universal Studios. We have California Pizza Kitchens that only exist here.
Yeah. The original Bob's Big Boy.
Yes.
Fresno doesn't have that.
Fresno doesn't have shit comparatively. Can I say shit?
Of course you can.
Fuck yeah.
Fuck yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Fresno, I feel like all Fresno has, no offense, Vince, and love of his life and child now and dog.
Yeesh.
They have that spoof miniseries about raisins with Carol Burnett.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah. Tony, did this come up on a show that you were on recently, or was this on a Daniel and me show where you were not here? Because I feel that I looked this up recently.
I don't recall this.
Okay,
it
look
seems like
up.
I would have heard that.
It's a spoof show, so it's not a real show. It's a sketch.
No, it was a real show,
like a sitcom set in Fresno.
It was a spoof of Dynasty.
Oh,
so it was like a satire.
Wow.
I want to say it might have been Madcap and Screwball, but I'm not sure about that. But Tony, can you look it up? It had like a pretty crazy cast.
Right.
And it was set in Fresno.
And it was called Fresno.
It was called Fresno.
And set in Fresno. And does Fresno have a lot of, I mean, do you work for the Fresno Chamber of Commerce?
I do, in fact.
Great,
I'm actually the president of the...
And a member?
And both. Yeah.
Okay. Do they have like a large raisin exporting situation? Because according to the show, I think she was a raisin heiress.
That makes sense. I could see them being into raisins over there. They certainly have a lot of sun. I feel like both grapes and raisins need sun.
Yeah.
But I don't know much about Fresno other than...
and you work there?
I mean, I know. That's the thing. They just hired me because they were like, we need a Jew. So, in order to, diversity.
Right.
Inclusion.
You're a diversity hire.
I was a diversity hire. And, I still, I'm still going through the Wikipedia page to
Got it.
really learn about the wonders of Fresno.
I want to get back to the fact that you're a Jew, but Tony.
Yeah, it was not an actual show. It was a 5-episode miniseries.
Okay.
Well, nowadays that's a whole season on HBO,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
back in the day.
Yeah, a limited series. How about that?
Right.
Is that better?
Yeah.
1986, comedy miniseries parodied primetime soap operas. And it not raisins necessarily, but grapes. More so.
Yeah. Well, they certainly have a lot of agriculture. They have a lot of, I feel like they have a large proportion of Chinese food buffets out there. I based that on the one time I went to a wedding in Fresno and I had my pick of the litter of Chinese food buffets, which are my favorite. That's my favorite dining experience.
Like while you were not at the not at the wedding.
Right. Yeah. In
Yeah.
between going to the wedding, I was like, I'm hungry. What to eat? And it was just like, go to the Chinese food buffet. We have 70.
I'm going to blow your mind.
Go ahead.
I think. I don't really know like the threshold of your mind and
My
being
mind
blown.
is very brittle, so you can blow it pretty
Okay,
easily.
great.
Yeah.
I've never been to a Chinese food buffet. I love...
I just have a stroke.
oh, no. Back. Tony, get the smelling salts. I knew they would come in handy one
Yeah.
day. I've been to like a all-you-can-eat sushi buffet
Okay.
situation.
Yeah. But it just had sushi. It didn't have Chinese. Oh, right. Like one of those ones
In
with
New York. Oh, wait. Was it Pan-Asian? I don't think so. I think it was just
sushi.
Now I'm not 100% sure.
You talking about like the conveyor belt thing? Is that what you're
No,
talking about?
although
Yeah.
that is like where your sushi goes on a ride.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
cool is that? No, it was this place where you're like, I know I'm going to get food poisoning.
Yeah.
Here's my money.
That was a Chinese food buffet.
Okay.
It's probably not the correct nomenclature. It's just an Pan-Asian buffet is probably the way to
Okay.
go.
and they have sushi there too.
Yeah, they'll have a sushi area. They have like a Mongolian barbecue area. They have like all of the just anything you can get from most Chinese food places.
Mm-hmm.
They have it just in giant troughs, and you can just put your little snout in there and just nom nom nom. That's what I like to do. So
and you went to 70 of them. That's what I heard.
all at once.
Wow. Oh
No,
my God.
I had my pick of the litter. It was great, and every time I mention the large proportion of Chinese food buffets to Vince, he says, no, that's not true. And I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure I remember a little bit from that one time
Yeah.
when I was 18 and went to my first wedding.
Why is he gaslighting you?
I don't know. He does that. Ever since he moved to Fresno, he's just like, don't make fun of it. I'm like, come on, bro. What
Yeah,
happened
be
to you?
cool.
Yeah, he used to be cool. He used to like, whatever, dude. He got married, he had a baby. Not me. I could never do that.
But you did.
I did.
Just get married and have a baby.
Yeah.
What's the timeline of all this?
The marriage and the baby?
Yeah.
I proposed in May it was like May or June of 2021.
Okay.
She got pregnant, or I found out she was pregnant in January of 2022. So then our wedding was June 2022 and the baby was October 2022. So she was pregnant at the wedding.
What a whirlwind.
It was a busy year, dude. That was crazy.
Yeah.
Luckily, everything's calmed down since the baby arrived.
Typically things calm down, right?
They don't tell you that. With the whole pregnancy thing, you're just like, there's all this stuff you're doing, all this preparation, and it's all set for like this date, like this big date
I
when
know.
this thing happens. And then after it happens, you want to be like, all right, now,
Now
it's
we
done.
rest.
Now we rest. There's no rest. You just keep
it's
going.
1,000 times worse, actually,
Yeah.
because I don't know how her labor was for either of you. However, for me, I was like, I've never been more weak, depressed, and tired. And now I have to take care of this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They really, they don't make it easy to have a child. Like
Who's they?
biologically. The Jews.
Oh, right.
Who control the baby.
Yes. And the money and the media.
They control it all. It's like your biology doesn't make it easy because it's almost preferable to not know you're pregnant and then just one day you have a baby.
Oh,
because
right.
then the starting point is that day that you had a baby, as opposed to 4 weeks after you conceive, finding out you're pregnant, and then it's a whirlwind.
Yes.
And it's like, why are we adding this extra 8 months of learning about stuff when you could just not know, dog?
Right. And then you'll end up kind of the same level of prepared.
Exactly.
Do you feel like all the classes and all that stuff helped?
I mean, I guess not really. I don't know. I feel like the most helpful thing was learning about like how the actual labor is going to go and what things to do as like a partner to someone who's pregnant to make them comfortable, especially during like pre-labor and stuff. And then also, as the pregnancy gets bigger and bigger and stuff, like learning how to make her comfortable was a big thing. But like the reading about when baby comes, useless information.
Oh, did you have What to Expect When You're Expecting?
We had the other book, What to Actually Expect, Idiots.
Oh.
Yeah, because that book, What to Expect When You're Expecting, no longer canon. No longer baby canon. It is a lot of debunked information.
Really?
Yeah.
I wish I had known that because it is written in such a nauseating style.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to set that book on fire. It sounds like Culture already has.
Yeah, Culture has decided that has been canceled. What to Expect is over. And now it's the other book was called like Expecting More or something, or Expecting.
Is it called Expecting Better?
Expecting
by
Better.
Emily Oster. Yes, I've had her on the show.
Yeah.
She's great.
Yeah.
She's great.
That book is like, I feel like the main purpose of that book is to do like real data collection on all the stuff that What to Expect When You're Expecting was claiming.
Right.
Because like one of the things was like coffee will give you miscarriage, which in Expecting Better, they're like, no, there's no factual basis for that. Like their data set that they used was like flawed and didn't take into account all this other shit. And it basically was just like more kind of along the lines of like all this stuff they tell you not to do, like, is
not eating sushi,
all that stuff. It's like some of it's true, but like most of it is bullshit. And I thought that was useful.
And what I thought was really interesting about the coffee can lead to miscarriage thing is that, so Emily Oster, who's a statistician, looked at all the data. Possibly an explanation for why the coffee drinkers had more miscarriages is that oftentimes when the hormones are rising at the beginning, you lose your taste for coffee. So in the women who drank coffee, conceivably their pregnancies weren't like progressing normally.
Right.
So it wasn't the coffee that caused it. It's that women, and if you're listening to this and you're pregnant and you still are craving coffee, do not worry. There's other factors too.
Yeah.
But it could be that the women whose pregnancies weren't strong still wanted coffee.
Yeah, and it was just like, I just remember that a lot of the way that they were collecting the data for it, like it was a lot of like the correlation equals causation stuff.
Yes.
So there is a correlation between people who drink a lot of coffee and have miscarriages, and it's like, therefore coffee gives you miscarriages.
Right.
No.
It's a leap.
Yeah, it's a huge leap, and it's not true. You can drink coffee.
So
if you do and a miscarriage happens, it's not because of the coffee.
It's because you listen to Matt.
It's because you listen to me. That's my bad.
So when it came time to have the baby, were you able to actually help her with physical comfort and stuff? Because Daniel and I practiced all this stuff. And then when I was in labor, I was like, don't touch me.
Yeah. I was able to, but mostly it was, we did get a doula, like a labor doula.
Right.
Who was teaching us a lot of stuff about like what moves would help, like pressing against like the back muscles and stuff, and that stuff was helpful. I was able to help, but also once the doula arrived, it was like my wife was just like, all right, Mac, you could go. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to sleep, because she started going through like early labor like at 10 p.m. and I was like, well, this is kind of a drag, because I sleepy though, so I'm gonna sleep, but fucking, let me know when you gotta go to the hospital. No, I helped, but Dawn was really helpful. Dawn the doula, she's an angel. She's really amazing. She's the reason why I think everything went smoothly, because she made sure, and I think every pregnant person needs this. You need someone to let you know that you're actually allowed to give birth any fucking way you want to, whatever way is comfortable, and that there are a lot of like nurses and doctors and whatnot who are very stringent and have very like, well, this is the right way to do it.
Yeah.
But they can't tell you, no, you can't labor on your side. Like they can say things like, well, it's a lot harder for us and blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people like cave. Oh, okay, whatever you say, doctor, whatever you say, RN, you know best. Right. And that just stresses out the person in labor. The truth of it is, though, you can just tell that person like, hey, this is more comfortable for me, so I'm going to do this. And
I'm just thinking back to my second birth went really well, but my first one was like
hard.
Yeah, it was. There was thick meconium. He had to be like resuscitated, go to the NICU, but also it was like a 41-hour induction. It was just.
Oh wow!
And I felt really
put upon, or
I felt like I was just like a vessel for the baby, and I felt really like sidelined and dehumanized, and it like. The hospital is kind of known for being. Some people have great births there, but like for being a bit of a baby factory. And
which hospital was that?
Cedars.
Oh yeah.
Where did you guys?
We did Huntington.
That's where I had my second, and it was like so. It was so amazing. Yeah. So I just think a lot of the people that were taking care of me there, were sick of caring for pregnant people because I felt it was similar to like kind of had a similar thing with my wedding where I felt like. A lot of the vendors were just like, okay, bride. And I'm like, no, like I'm not just a type.
Yeah.
And so I felt like there was a lot of like, the laboring women think this, but really.
Yeah.
But so anyway, I definitely had preferences for what position to be in, what was more comfortable, but they were telling me, oh, you have to be sitting up now. You have to be doing this. You have to be doing this.
Yeah.
And I just did what they wanted. But like, there certainly were positions that would have been way more comfortable.
Yeah. And one of the things Dawn was able to tell us was basically how to navigate those situations. How basically you don't want to be a dick because like
you don't want to antagonize them.
You don't want to antagonize them because you want them to like take care of you, right? Which is like a fucked up position to be in.
Well,
where
you're so vulnerable.
Yeah, you're super
so
vulnerable.
That's part of why I didn't want to advocate for myself.
Yeah,
but I was able to the second time. But the first time is because I'm just like. I'm completely at your mercy.
Right.
I want to stay on your good side.
Right. Yeah. And it's such a shitty position that I think, there are, I would say the vast majority of medical professionals are not bad people, obviously, but there's
burnout.
There's burnout and there's some God complex shit with medical professionals.
Yeah.
And, kind of like they think they know better than everyone. And you might say to yourself, well, yeah, I mean, they've done a lot of births and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, but everyone's body is different. It's just true. Everyone, there's not a one size fits all thing. And I think that like for some nurses, especially, they'll be like, well, it's easier for me if you were to do this. And it's like, well, it's harder for the person who's shitting a baby out of their vagina. Come on, give them a break. But shitting a baby out of the vagina is the way I put it. Is that it's normal and good?
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I thought you were going to say shitting the baby out.
Yeah.
And then I was wondering whether to break it to you that that's not where the baby comes out. But then you
Sometimes
specified. Oh, like if you got a 4 degree.
If it goes,
oh, God.
And then you got
a cloaca.
One cloaca. Yeah. Beautiful hole.
Ugh.
We're having fun.
So, good.
Yeah.
No, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, usually I talk about The Sopranos and The Wire, so this is a nice break.
Oh, my God. You posted something. It was like your wife and the baby, and then you flashed over to just some horrendous torture scene on your computer.
Oh, yeah.
What was that?
That was...
I watched it like repeatedly, though I can't stand any of that. I was like, what is going on in this scene?
That was Casino. That was the scene where Joe Pesci is got this guy's head in a vice, and he's trying to get a name. I think it's Mickey M. I forget. Charlie M. Yeah, he's like, you made me pop your fucking eye out for Charlie M. I love it. It's a great scene. Of course, the baby didn't know what was going on. That's a great thing about like really early childhood, like infants, is you can just watch whatever. Like they don't know.
It's true.
You can watch all the rated R movies you want. They're not like, there's
they're not taking it in.
They're not taking it in. And at one point I was like, oh, it'd be fun. I'm gonna watch like The Little Mermaid with my daughter, and I was like, she won't know what's going on. And you're gonna have to do this eventually. Forever. So just enjoy this moment.
Enjoy the calm before Frozen and Little Mermaid.
Yes,
Elliot. Elliot has just gotten into Little Mermaid.
Oh.
And he's super obsessed with the song how well do you know Little Mermaid?
Very well.
He's super obsessed with Poor Unfortunate Souls. Both of my kids have been singing it.
It's such a good song.
It is.
It's catchy.
But I had never really paid attention to it before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had, but like, I don't know, maybe Kiss the Girl was more my speed.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I've heard the song over and over and over, and it's quite a number.
Oh, it's a banger. I mean, it's just and like lyrically, it's really dense and really good. It's just really that's a classic song to me. I love that song. There's stuff. This is also a wonderful thing about being a dad is all the childhood stuff that you're like, oh, I get to watch like Little Mermaid again and stuff, and then from an adult perspective, you're like, oh, this is a crazy ass movie.
I know.
She is 16 years old, by the way, and the prince. They don't say the age of the prince, but he's I think he's full grown.
Yeah. Wait, they say she's 16?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
She's 16 years old, and
same as Liesel in Sound of Music.
is that right?
Yeah, she's 16 going on 17.
Oh, that's right.
The song,
There's a whole song about it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and listen, I don't know what the age of consent was in
The Sea.
the sea. So maybe things are different, like maritime laws, obviously. But that's a weirder perspective when you're just like, oh, she really should listen to her dad.
Yeah. And you know what's really weird is the actual Little Mermaid. I don't know if it's Hans Christian Andersen.
Yeah,
or,
one of those weird Norse.
But you know that it doesn't end.
It doesn't end well.
No.
Yeah.
Can we spoil it? I think she turns into mist or something.
She turns into sea foam.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I've never read it. I know the ending because it's just like so not the Disney ending.
Right.
But yeah, she turns into sea foam. I don't know if there's is there like a jazzy sea witch in that one too?
I don't know. I hope so.
I hope so too because it's like a great character.
Yeah.
Ursula rules. And the way Ursula dies, spoiler alert for those of you who haven't seen The Little Mermaid.
It came out in 1986.
Yeah. She gets stabbed by a boat.
Maybe 89. 86 was Fresno.
Yeah, 89 I think is that sounds right to me. But yeah, she gets stabbed by a boat in the end, which as a adult I'm like, damn, that's a fucked up way to die.
I know, and you are like have a PhD in fucked up ways to die.
Yeah, I love fucked up ways to die.
What's your favorite fucked up way that you've witnessed?
There was a bunch of guys moving a metal scaffolding. I think it was like in China or something.
Oh, I thought it was going to be from one of the shows you've seen.
Oh no!
No, but if you
I thought maybe at some point I had told you that I had a phase in which I watched a lot of people dying videos in real life.
No,
it calms me. I don't know why. There's something about it. I mean, it's not great, but everyone's got a thing. I'm not horny for it. It's not like a sex thing. It's just like I was a fascination, a faces of death phase. I think people go through that. I don't know.
I did not know this, but I'm so glad to have learned this.
Yeah.
Is this like one of your things that people know about you? Okay, here's what I know about you.
Okay, go ahead.
You eat scared.
I do. That's
because
right.
you have trouble breathing through your nose.
Yeah.
So when you eat, you're like frightened that you're going to choke to death.
Yeah.
And I imagine it's sort of like a chipmunk or squirrel or something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I know you're extremely tall.
Yeah.
6'6".
6'6", very
which
tall.
for a Jew,
I know.
wow.
I know.
Do you come from a tall family?
Pretty tall family. My dad is 6'1", my mom is 5'9". But my cousins on my dad's side are like 6'2", 6'3". Like tall Ukrainian Jewish stock, I guess, on my dad's side of the family. And then also tall Irish stock on my mom's side. So it's just like two tall people made a super tall guy.
Okay.
Unathletic, though, so that's fun.
Really? And I bet your whole life people have been like, basketball.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have no skills.
Okay.
No hand-eye coordination.
So, can't breathe through your nose.
Yeah.
Very tall.
Very tall.
Drug problem.
Yeah. Big drug problems. 13 years clean and sober.
Nice. Congratulations.
So, yeah.
Went to UC Santa Cruz.
That's right.
That's all I know. So tell us about this.
That's all there is.
Faces. Yeah. So anyway, is this like one of the things people know about you? Like, oh yeah, he loves to watch people get killed.
I think I probably talked about it on my podcast, on the Frotcast, which was That's like the original.
Oh,
OG,
yeah.
Me and
I
Vince.
should have mentioned that.
No. You don't need to because it's, that's right now we're focused on The Wire and The Sopranos.
Okay.
That's it. But yeah.
Is fraught for frottage? Frottage?
That's exactly
Is it
right.
Frottage or frottage?
A frottage if you're fancy. Frottage if you're rad.
And this is like rubbing up on someone?
It's when two dicks rub together.
I didn't know that.
It's a metaphor for podcasting. I mean, this was back, over a decade ago when all podcasts were just dudes literally and figuratively rubbing their
Wait,
dicks together.
I never knew that. And I consider myself like an educated word person.
Yeah.
I thought...
Well, you knew about frottage.
I did.
You knew the word, you just didn't know what the sex act entailed.
I thought like if you're on a subway and you just like go up to someone and like shimmy your body against them, that's frottage.
No, that's a crime.
Well, frottage could also... No, I guess... Depending.
I think if like you're labeling it frottage, I think like unwanted frottage is a crime.
But if it's really just dick on dick action, I don't know how. I'm sure someone could come up with a way to do it without consent. But in general,
in general, I think it's a consensual act between.
So it's like a thing people are into.
I mean, I assume so.
Right.
They gave it a nice French name. I think it's French.
This whole time I was wrong. Sort of like defenestration.
Oh, great word.
Is
throwing
something at a window,
throwing someone,
which I always thought it was. I always thought it meant
when you're on a subway and you rub up against it.
Yeah, I thought it was two dicks rubbing against each other. No, I thought it was disemboweling.
Oh, yeah,
which is something you've probably watched.
I've never seen it. See, the types of videos that I watch aren't like normal ways to die. It's just like, oh, you can die that way. So the people pushing the scaffolding, I guess it was very tall and it was metal and they had touched some sort of wires, and then all at the same time they're just like,
oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh, it's pretty bad. Anyways, there's lots of ways to go, dude.
So when was this interest in watching this?
I think not too long after getting sober. I think it was at some point I discovered like it was like on Reddit or something. It was like watch people die, and I was like, yeah, all right. And
do you feel there's and I just have to tell
they
everyone,
got rid of the subreddit. It's gone now because
I think the backdrop behind you is barely hanging onto that pole. So in the course of recording this, it might come it's not going to come crashing down, but it just might come down a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I'm just warning everyone, we're going to hear a ripping sound.
Would you like me to see if I can address that?
Oh my gosh.
Or do you want to ride this ride?
What do you want to do, Matt?
You know what? I defer to you guys. It's your pod.
Thanks.
Your house. Your studio.
Let's just see what happens.
It's a beautiful
it's
studio.
exciting.
Yeah.
You guys have a wonderful setup here.
Thank
I really
you.
like it.
Thank you very much. Is there a relationship, do you feel, between getting sober and
watching people die?
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be. I mean, there's something about. I've always, before I was sober, when I, was on a lot of drugs. Definitely, one of the big anxieties that I was, like medicating with drugs was like the fear of death. Not necessarily my death, but just death in general.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think it was just like, the internet's crazy where you just like one video leads to another that gets more and more dark and weird,
Yeah.
It's like one of the reasons with like porn where I had to be like, I feel like they shouldn't have recommendeds on porn. You know what I mean? Because it's like you're just gonna get weirder and weirder. Don't recommend stuff to me. I'll just go, because then I can get regular. Then you don't want to like start one day and you're just like, hey, I'm watching. I like when two people have sex, and then 10 years down the line you're just like pee pee poo poo. I only watch pee pee poo poo now. You don't want that. It's like when people get like red pilled on YouTube because they watched a video about like ancient Rome, and then 3 years later they're just like, did you know that the Jews have been kicked out of all the countries because they're bad? It's them's fault, certainly not medieval Europe's fault.
Right.
No. Yeah. So anyways, at some point, I don't know, I think I was just you just get curious. The internet has everything, and that's both a good and a bad thing.
I think there's something very, and there's probably a better way to put it than this, but like very internet-y I feel like there's like a certain type of person who grew up in a certain time. I mean, this is going to be the most vague thing. I'm gonna barf it out, then we're gonna sift through the vomit and see if there's anything.
There's
there.
a nugget, I'm sure.
Yeah. Do you know Kevin Pereira from G4?
Oh yeah.
I remember he talked about becoming desensitized to, like, he's, you know, was on the internet, and this is years ago that I had him on the show, but was on the internet so much.
Yeah.
And just that thing of like becoming desensitized from watching darker and darker, like seeing people decapitated and you know, that kind of stuff. And I feel like there's a specific coming of age group that came of age on the internet where you just start watching, like, I have no stomach for any, like, I can't even do horror movies or anything like that.
Yeah. You thought I was watching a snuff film when I was watching a Martin Scorsese film.
I know. But I know that Daniel has seen beheadings and things like that.
Oh, yeah. I saw one of those. But I saw one of those in college when we were in the
beheading class.
You went in the beheading class. No, it was like the war. We were the war in Iraq. And,
yes, that's
and all
when
that
he
stuff.
saw it.
And I someone was like, "Hey, I got that." Video, and everyone just gathered around and watched it, and everyone at the same time was just like, God, I wish I hadn't watched that.
Yeah.
It was just too bad.
Right.
In fact, this is interesting. Beheadings, like those types of videos, are so grotesque and off-putting that later on, when ISIS was around, their social media, like, I guess, the ingeniousness with which they use social media, they realized that they couldn't show the actual act of the beheading. So what they would do is, in their like content, I guess, they made a lot of content. That was their big thing, was content.
They're a real content farm.
They were a content farm. They would only show after, once the head was off, and then they would like put the head on like the body. And that made people more kind of like attracted more people to it. Like, because seeing someone get their head sawed off or cut off is like, that will freak people out. But for some reason, if they just cut to in the edit, head already off, people loved it.
And then you said they put the head on the body?
Yeah, just like they took the head and
in front of it, not on the neck.
Yeah, just on the chest. Yeah. It'd be sitting on the chest, right? So anyways, those are pretty. Even ISIS was like, well, guys, this is too dark.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, like, we're all used to seeing chicken.
Oh, I thought you were going to say heads on bodies, not cut off.
Yeah. No, I was like chicken in a store, but I think most of us couldn't handle how it gets there.
Totally. Yeah.
It's exactly the same. Tony, have you seen all of this stuff before?
No, not at all. It's not for me. I years ago was dating someone that wanted to go to the Museum of Death here. Yeah. And I did go to that, and it left feeling real weird. It was not for me.
Is it the Museum of Death and Psychiatry? Not that one. That is the Scientology one.
No,
I've never been to the Museum of Death.
I forget where it is. This was a decade ago.
Yeah.
But I remember there was a point where the people working were like, you see this video of a person getting hit by a train or something like that.
See, that
and
I can handle.
Okay, and even that I was like,
There's a Museum of Death and Psychiatry.
Yeah, there's
what is it, like old psychiatric?
No, I've never been to it, but I know that it is just a Scientology outpost.
Okay.
It's like filled with misinformation about psychiatry, and then it's like, but you know what's good? Scientology, yeah. Fucking crazy bullshit.
So where are you from originally?
From here, from Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what was your childhood like?
So pretty normal. Didn't, see any death videos or nothing. My parents never beheaded anyone in front of me. My childhood I guess technically the youngest of three. I have a twin sister, but she's a minute older than me. So
you're the baby.
So I'm technically the baby. And childhood was, I would say, like fairly normal West LA childhood, kind of like a lower middle class family. Both parents worked. Dad had a sandwich shop in Burbank, or I guess Studio City-ish, called Nicely's. They made like healthy sandwiches.
Did they make it nicely? Is that where the name came from?
No, that name came from, I think he bought it as nicely as it was from someone who really liked the musical Guys and Dolls.
Okay.
There's a character, Nicely Johnson. I only know that because as a little kid I was in Guys and Dolls, and I watched that musical a lot. And then my mom was a librarian, and she stayed at that job forever. My dad eventually became a high school science teacher. And fairly normal childhood. LAUSD schools,
Twin sister. Do you have older siblings too?
Older brother. And we all live in LA still. So I'm the only one who moved out for like college and stuff. So I never wanted to come back to LA. I'm not a fan of this city, but
and yet you tried to keep Vince here. That's not very nice.
Well, if I have to suffer, he has to suffer too. And it's like, no, I think people who are not from LA seem to enjoy it, and I think in general it's got a lot to offer and stuff. But I also am like, have you ever been to any other city? They're all so good.
Yeah,
LA is just this giant suburb, and so. Even though I'm like from here and am a city boy, I never felt like I lived in a city. Every
no, it doesn't feel like
feel like a city. The only thing that where I knew it was a city was that anywhere else I would live, I was like, it's not a lot of people out here. Whereas out here, there's always people.
Yes,
but people in their cars, people like in public spaces and stuff. Not necessarily like. Going to New York and you're just like shoulder to shoulder with people. But yeah, anyways, it's a nice enough city. I like it. I feel like I like to talk shit about Los Angeles. But I also get offended whenever someone not from LA talks shit about Los Angeles. I'm always just like, fuck you. It's a wonderful city. Move then. Even though I'm like, I mostly agree with you. Yeah.
Is your sister super tall?
She is, she's like 5'8", 5'9".
Okay.
I mean, she's normal height, a little bit above. Yeah.
All right. So you were in Guys and Dolls as a young person. How did this tell us everything, please?
Well, yeah, man, we're going to. Well, when I was a kid, I liked musicals. I don't know why.
Because they're great.
Yeah, because they're great. But yeah, so there was like local park kind of like theater thing. Like you could do, the rec center has like, you can do basketball, you can do baseball. And then it was like musical theater. And I was like, oh yeah, that. Straight, by the way. But, straight people like musical theater too.
Yeah.
Hey, no big deal. And yeah, so I did that for a little bit. But I didn't like singing in public. So.
Because of the breathing thing?
No, the breathing thing. No, because I just was embarrassed. No, that's eating in public. So whenever I would get a role in one of the musicals, I was always like the only non-singing character in it. So I played like I played a cop in Guys and Dolls, and then I played a cop in Fiddler on the Roof, and I played a doctor in Oliver. All of which did not sing, but had little scenes.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was your favorite musical when you were little? And also, how did you first get exposed to musical theater?
My mom, she's a big like theater head. She likes like old Hollywood. She's a big old. She's like from Massachusetts, and for her, like Hollywood was always like a magical place. Yes. And I was like, no, Hollywood is a
shithole.
Is a shithole. It is. One of the worst places on earth. But yeah, so she introduced me to a lot of musical theater and stuff like that. And also I was like, I was always like wanted to like entertain, but so yeah, then one thing led to another and I became a comedian. So
when did that happen?
That happened after I got sober.
Okay. So let's go back to the drugs then.
Okay. Drugs.
When did the drugs happen and why?
Oh, okay.
If you have a why.
Oh, well, there's always a why. Yeah. I mean, the drugs started happening first middle school.
Really?
Well, yeah, because like first it was like weed, right?
Okay.
And then learning that like weed doesn't kill you, even though like Dare would like teach you like just one hit. That's all it takes. You know, like a cop would come to school and be like,
I had Dare too, so I know exactly.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then once you like, I mean, once you smoke weed for the first time when you're like a kid, not that far removed from Dare, and you don't die, and in fact you have kind of a good time, you're just like, what else are they lying about?
This is the speech I have made about my little cocaine problem in New York, which by the way, I don't touch anything anymore. But I was 27 when I did it, which I feel like really get the experimentation out of your system when you're young, because there's something bad. I mean, it's more acceptable to be experimenting when you're in high school, not when you're fucking 27. But anyway,
but
I was the
27
person,
is still a baby. I think we can say.
Thank you. Yeah. But I was the person who was like, you do it once and you have a heart attack and die.
Right.
And so then when I didn't, and in fact, like,
had a great time.
It was pretty fun.
Wrote a screenplay.
Felt like I was glowing and really enjoyed talking.
Yeah.
It was like, it really cinched my relationship with it.
Yeah.
So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, because you're like, you know, then it starts feeling like they're telling you not to do it because society's masters don't want you to have too much fun or something, or like it's just like, oh, they want you to conform or whatever kind of.
The man has his boot on your neck.
The man has his boot on your neck, and you are freeing yourself by just doing drugs that make you feel stupid.
by curdling your brain.
Yes, by curdling your brain. You're just like, I'm free. So yeah, you know, you start there, and then I had a thing actually in high school. I had a problem. I don't know how to put this. I had a problem with cocaine. I didn't have a cocaine problem. I had a problem with because the high school I went to had like a magnet program, and there was a good amount of like rich industry kids. Like their parents would be like, you should go to public school. And this is my home school, so that's why I went there. And I entered the music magnet because I liked playing music. But then I would just like be introduced to these like kids who would, I think, anywhere else be private school kids. And not to like, I'm not trying to flatten everyone's like experience. Not every private school kid is bad or whatever, but like I've always hated these types of like industry kids. To me, I have a resentment that I have to work on because it's not fair to them, because some are, you know.
My husband has the exact same thing, by the way.
It's just like
it's a real chip on your shoulders.
It's a chip on my shoulder against like these kids who would just seem like, you know,
everything handed to
through
them.
nepotism, they're going to be fine. And they all were kind of like, I felt like they were a cool kid crew, and they would have like parties, and they'd be like, yeah, we do cocaine. And me and my friends were kind of like losers. And
but you did drugs. That's so cool.
Well, yeah, but but that was the thing though. We were like, we're cool too, but we're not going to do cocaine. We're going to do opiates.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So we were like,
I see. So when you say you had a cocaine problem, like you had a bias against it?
I had a bias against cocaine until, you know, I eventually warmed up to cocaine in college. I was like, actually, you know, cocaine's kind of tight. But I had a thing where I was like, no, that's lame. You know, cool kids, real drug addicts who love the game are about who like heroin. And
so you were doing heroin in high school?
Yeah, that's when I first tried it, and like different opiates. You know,
but like pills or like street stuff or
heroin street, because that's the only place you can get it.
Yeah.
And other opiates like morphine, or Dilaudid or Vicodin or all that stuff. That was like pill form. So you either buy from someone who has like a connection, or later in my drug addiction, I started, I worked at a doctor's office when I was in college. because I was like really wedded to I'm going to be a functioning addict.
Oh.
And part of that was going to be
Good for you.
yeah. Well, I was like, I think I can do this because it's my favorite thing.
Drugs?
And drugs. Yeah. Like opiates were like my absolute favorite thing. And I always felt like the only problem with opiates was that society didn't just let you like have a consistent opiate supply. And I felt like, well, if I could just do this every day, because I could still go to work. I graduated college.
Yeah.
I mean, I cheated my way through most of it, but I still graduated. So I don't know. At the time I felt like, well, I'm not going to quit doing it. So I got a job at a doctor's office and I stole a triplicate prescription pad. And so I would write myself prescriptions for Dilaudid. Yeah.
And you never got caught.
Never got caught. And it was like,
that's so
yeah. I mean,
hardcore.
I only ever did this a handful of times. And so like, it's not like it was at a point at which I didn't have a connection and I was like, fuck it. And I was so nervous the fucking first time. But thing is like part of the bias of pharmacists is they see just like a kid and like I was wearing a button shirt because I was coming from work. And I was like, maybe they won't suspect. And they never really did, which was great. And I also had this plan that I never had to put into action, but it was like working the front desk at the doctor's office. If they called, sometimes you get pharmacists calling just to make sure.
You would answer it.
I would answer it. And so I was waiting to see, like, if they call, I'm the one who fucking picks up the phone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm the one who's going to hear the answering machine message. So that was my plan. If anything, got screwy. And I never did. And,
did you leave that job on your own?
I left that job.
So you weren't fired or anything?
No, I did end up quitting. But so I left that job. All my friends forced me to leave after I had a seizure at the job.
Drug induced?
Withdrawal induced.
Okay.
I was trying to get off of, at this point, morphine. And so I was like, I'll wean myself off. And I didn't wean myself off because it's really hard to be like, okay, now do a little bit less. And you're like, no, I'll get there. And eventually I just ran out. I was like, oh, fuck. All right, well, we'll see how it goes. And then I had a seizure, which I later realized was because of withdrawal. At the time, I was like, why the fuck did I have a seizure?
Did you think you might be epileptic or like, what did you think?
No, I thought it was because I was trying to take this other thing. It was like tramadol, which was like something is like...
That's an opiate, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's not like a Schedule 4 or whatever. I forget which schedule. So it wasn't a Schedule 2. It was like a Schedule 3.
So it's easier
to get. Literally,
yeah.
It was like at the doctor's office. And I was like, I'll just take a bunch of that to wean off. And so I thought it was because I took like 15 of those. But later I realized, I was like, oh, that was withdrawals. It's because I was like doing like fucking hundreds of milligrams of morphine a day. And
I
then
have a science question. I don't know if you'll know the answer.
Yeah.
If you guys had gone to I was going to say if you had gone to the Museum of Death and Psychiatry, but that's no. Okay. So if you had taken enough tramadol, though,
right,
would that have quelled the seizure because it is also an opiate?
I don't know. My entire knowledge of like psychopharmacology and all that shit was based on Wikipedia articles that I would read. So like at the time, it was like, is this an opiate? And it was kind of like, yeah, kind of. Well, it acts on this one particular opiate receptor in your brain. And I was like, yeah, I don't know what that means, but probably means like, yeah, it's a little bit of an opiate. I was like, okay, so I have to do a lot. Like I was a real dumbass about it.
Did you get hurt during the seizure?
I dislocated my shoulder, and then I woke up and because I didn't know I had a seizure, I just woke up. Apparently, I woke up going fuck, fuck, and I don't remember this at all. But my coworkers were telling me afterwards, and I woke up surrounded by paramedics.
Oh wow!
And
so there was enough time to get the paramedics there.
Yeah. I mean, enough time had passed that paramedics were there because this was an office building. It wasn't like we were in a hospital or nothing. But yeah, so I don't know how long it was for, but I think its seizures are like 10 minutes or something.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
You don't
Okay.
seize for 10 minutes,
Yeah.
but I think the blank space, who knows? I don't know. I'm not a
Right.
seizure expert. But I was surrounded by paramedics, and for the pain of like popping that back in, they gave me morphine, and I was like, sick. And then
Oh, wow.
and then I got a prescription afterwards for Dilaudid for because like
like
seizure-
legit?
yeah,
A
a legit
legit.
one, a legit one. Because the pain of a seizure is like, it's like all your muscles tense, so
Right.
you're like sore. It's like you ran a marathon for like a few days. You feel like dog shit.
Were you injecting heroin in
Yeah.
high school?
Yeah.
Wow. And you learned to do that on Wikipedia?
I learned I learned from a friend first, and then eventually, once you realize it's like very simple, like a baby could do it. I mean, I'm gonna teach my baby to do it.
Yeah, you should. Really? Because in my mind,
Oh,
so
so-
I did IVF, so I know how to inject, but I've only ever done like subcutaneous.
Right.
The idea of trying to get in a vein sounds hard.
Oh, it's very simple. It's the easiest thing. Yeah, because especially in your arms, the vein is like right there,
Yeah.
and you just just go at an angle, and
There you are.
yeah, and it's not painful or nothing. It's like it's very easy to do, especially with like a fresh. The only time it's like painful is if you're reusing it.
Which you did.
Eventually, I stopped doing that because I was like getting these little like infections, and I was like, oh, that's not good. And I worked in college. I worked at I volunteered at a needle exchange, so I had a nice steady supply.
Did your parents have any
No idea, zero.
No idea. So
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't know until my
Or
friends.
your siblings?
No, none of them knew until my friends. They forced me to quit that job because after I had the seizure, and I think some of my friends had known that I had issues in the past, and they were like, "This is fucking. He's back on drugs." And they're like, you can't work there anymore. And I was like, fine. And they had sort of an intervention for me.
Cool. Yeah, my question is like, how did they? Obviously, like it was more intense than just like, we think you should quit. That was the intervention.
No, they straight up had an intervention. It was I woke up because at this time I was like homeless. I was like living at friends' houses.
Why?
Because I wasn't paying rent anywhere. And
Wait, how old were you at this point?
like 22.
So this is after college.
Yeah, after
Okay.
college. Yeah. I had moved to the Bay Area because the job at the doctor's office had an office in Emeryville. So I was like, transfer me over there. I want to live in the Bay. I don't want to be in Santa Cruz anymore. And so, yeah, all my friends got together, and I woke up at my friend's house, and they were all sitting in a circle, and I was like, really, guys? Really? Are we? I was like, this is so cringe, basically. They all like kind of like, they all took turns telling me that I had to like get my shit together and whatnot, and I yelled at them for all being drunks because I was like, you guys drink all the time. Like the way I rationalized it was like everyone I know drinks every day, sometimes multiple times a day, and then gets really drunk like a few times a week. And I barely drink. I didn't really have like, the only time I ever had like an alcohol problem was when I was like, I'm going to stop doing drugs for a bit. And then I would just like drink my ass off until I decided that drugs would be better. And I was like, why is it that society says that you guys can just drink and it's all good, but I can't do just a little bit of heroin, a gentleman's dose every couple of hours, and why is basically I was like, wait, why am I different? And they're like, well, none of us have had a seizure. And I was like, I knew you'd throw that in my face. I fucking knew it. So they told me basically, if you start using it again, then we're gonna tell your family. And I was like, okay. And so I quit for a little bit, and then I didn't. And then they told my family. And that was the first they heard of it. They were unhappy. I moved home. back to LA, and I was very angry at everyone I knew. I was like, you're all a bunch of fucking hypocrites. And I was very mad because I really wanted to go to Burning Man. And I didn't get to go because I was at home trying not to be a drug addict. And then, I started going to Narcotics Anonymous.
Did someone make you go?
No, so first my parents were like, you got to go to rehab or something. But we didn't have like
rehab money.
Like,
wait, just to go back for a second.
Yeah.
How did you find out that your parents knew? Like, did they call you?
They called me. Well, first my sister called me and said, like, what's going on? And I had just like left. I had went to a meeting because I was, once again, after getting caught, they were piss testing me. I was living at my friend's house, and
your friends were piss testing
my
you?
friends were piss testing me. Yeah.
There's some invested friends.
There's some invested friends. Like, of course, now I look back and I'm like, God, and there's still all my best friends forever. But like at the time, I was like, you fucking suck. And they were piss testing me, and then there was a time where like there was a little bit of a lapse where they weren't doing it as much, and then at some like thing, everyone knew I was high, and I was definitely high. So they're like, let's piss test them again. They did. My sister calls me, says, what's going on? I was like, oh, nothing. Everything's normal. Why are you calling? And then it's like, mom's coming to get you. She's flying to Oakland. And I was just like, what? And then, then I yelled at my friends, and then I threatened to beat one of them with a baseball bat. And it was pretty bad. It was very dramatic. It was very cringe. And
so basic.
It was very basic. And
what did your mom say to you when she first saw you? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I just remember her being like the feeling was really like, I don't have time or patience for this type of shit. But she was very loving and empathetic, but it was very like, come on, dude. Like, what is this? Like, now, like, you're a drug addict now. And I was sad that they knew. That was a big deal for me. It was like, I didn't want that to like put my shit on them. This is my own thing. And then, I think my brother was there too. And everyone was trying their best not to, no one wanted to blow up at me because they thought I was like fragile. And I probably was fragile, but at the time I tried to be like, guys, it's not a big deal. All right. I just do drugs sometimes. I can quit anytime I want. And, once I had moved back, I was like, I wasn't working at a doctor's office. I didn't have any connections. And the other part of me was just like, maybe I need to at the very least freshen up. Like, I was like, in my back of my mind, I was like, I'll get high again. The last time I'll tell you a story. This is the last time. Last time I used Dilaudid. So when I flew home, I flew with some Dilaudid pills. Do we need to take a commercial break at some point?
No, actually. Okay. No, we're good.
These next commercials are brought to you by Dilaudid. All right. So I brought the pills with me, but I didn't bring any needles. I didn't bring a rig because I was afraid that, go through the like X-ray and they'd be like, you got needles in there. And I didn't want, I don't want my parents to be like, come on, fuck, we're picking you up from the airport. You got needles on you? Jesus. But I brought the pills. And so there's one thing I hate more than anything is swallowing pills to get high.
Why?
Because with opiates, the whole thing, the reason people talk about opiates, the reason you see movies about is because the thing is when you inject the drug, there is a rush feeling. That's the thing you see whenever you see a movie and someone's injecting and they're like, oh, that whole thing. That's what
everyone's chasing.
That's what they're chasing, and that's what they're showing and whatnot. is that feeling. It's just like, it feels like you're like swimming in a warm bath of the blood of your fallen enemies, and you just are like king. And
how long does that feeling last?
it depends on the opiate. I mean, the rush only lasts a few seconds. But and then the high lasts, for some, like Dilaudid is like 2 hours, which is not a long time. And then like heroin, it's like a few more hours, like, yeah, and you fall asleep and stuff. You nod out. Yeah, so I was like, I have this Dilaudid. It's my last hit, and I'm not gonna swallow it, because no. So I was like looking, I was like, there's got to be something needle-like in this house.
Oh God.
So I looked everywhere, and then I found a turkey baster, and I was like, one thing I've never tried is
up your butt.
putting drugs in my butt. I've heard you can do that. Now, it's the similar principle to that of snorting, because it's like this thin membrane.
The mucous membrane.
Yeah, and it's like the blood-brain barrier or whatever.
Right.
Basically, you can get high fast in a way. So I took the turkey baster and put the drugs in the baster, and I got my legs, but like a butthole to the Lord, like a yoga position.
Sure.
And put it in, and I just started cracking up. It was so I got high immediately, felt pretty good, and as soon as the drugs hit, I was like, oh, this is funny. I'm literally hitting bottom right now. and I was like, this could be a good way to go out. Like, this could be it. Maybe it will be. I don't know. So I allowed myself the idea of maybe that was my final go around with it. And I went to this outpatient rehab, the only one that our shitty insurance would cover, at least to some extent. And it's just a lot of people trying to convince themselves that rehab will cure them, kind of thing. It was a lot of people who were full of shit. And rehab is filled with people who are trying to convince other people that they get it now. Not a lot of honesty. I mean, it's different for every rehab, but in my experience, I was just like, everyone here is doing this because someone in their life is forcing them to be here, or they are going to convince themselves that this place has the answers and this place will fix them, and then they can drink like a normal person and they can just be normal again. It's not a drug problem that they have, but it's just one thing that they were treating, and they'll get it treated, and then they'll figure out a way to cope with things, but still do drugs or so it didn't really work for me in terms of I just wasn't inspired. But then I found some local 12-step meetings, and since I was only doing this a couple days a week at the rehab thing, I was like, well, I have all these other days in the week where I need to do fucking something. And so I started going to 12-step program, and that was the place where I was like, oh, this is a room full of people who they don't want to be high.
Addicts.
Yeah. They don't want to continue doing this, which was I didn't know that was a thing, not wanting it anymore.
Right.
Because I was like, well, I want it. And then it was just people being honest about stuff, and not even directly talking about no one was doing a monologue about why drugs are bad because blah blah blah. I felt like rehab was a lot of that,
performative,
where everyone there was just today this is what I did, I had this experience, it was shitty, whatever. Everyone was being real. And if you were sad, you talked about this shit that made you sad. If you were happy, you talked about shit that made you happy. If you had a funny story, you would tell a story. And I was like, well, this is kind of cool. And then eventually I just kind of got the message. I was like, yeah, I guess I don't really want to be high as much as I want to have a a normal like life and like group of friends, and like there's all this stuff that I want to do that I'm afraid to do, and that I've been putting off and all that stuff. And so eventually I just kind of one day led to another, made friends with a lot of great people, and then now it's been 13 years.
So the turkey baster was the last time.
It was the last time I used opiates, but 3 days later I had like I raided the liquor cabinet at my parents' house and had a bunch of vodka, and that was the last time I just drank because I was going through like detox, and I was like, I need something, so I drank a bunch of vodka, and that was it. That was July 27th, 2009.
Where did you put the turkey baster after? Please tell me you threw it out.
Yeah, so I put it. There was a dishwasher.
No, I mean,
Thanksgiving has been tainted for my family doesn't know about that. Eventually the turkey baster went away because they just bought a new one. But I remember being like, I really got to throw that out. I really got to throw that out. And I just never got around to it.
Why didn't you throw it out immediately?
Well, because like
you felt like it would be a tell.
Yeah, they'd be like, "Where's our turkey baster?"
Oh, clearly it's been in our son's asshole.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
I feel like that isn't necessarily where they would have gone with that.
If you're deductive enough, you can think of anything. Yeah. No, I think I just thought like, well, what am I gonna, you know,
perfectly good turkey baster. I mean, it is a question I have. Like, it's not a question I have had for a long time. Yeah, but right now I'm wondering. Will a dishwasher disinfect a turkey baster that's been in Matt Lieb's asshole?
Well, it's the outside, not the inside. You know what I mean? Like the inside just had drugs in it. The outside had my butthole on it.
Right. But you're still putting the outside of the turkey baster into a turkey.
Well,
wait a minute. Are you using it to squeeze the? Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I've never actually basted a turkey, so I don't know what you do with it. I assume you put it in the stuffing and you...
Well, now I'm remembering I've seen my dad like use it to soak up the like turkey juice.
Right, and then put it on top of the turkey.
So maybe... No, but then the outside is still touching the juice. You're making a sort of a point.
I think I also... I can't imagine that I didn't also like wash it, you know, with soap and water first and then put it in.
Right. Because you're a considerate addict.
Yeah. I mean, I was like, but I you know, it's not like I was like, I didn't put it back in the drawer and go, yeah, enjoy your poo-poo turkey.
Can we talk about 12-step for a moment, even though
you're
really not supposed to?
Yeah.
Well,
you're just not supposed to, it's promote. It's just attraction.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've dabbled on and off. Mm-hmm. It's been a while, but I never fully did all the steps. And I've been told that, like, you missed out on the best part.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even just going repeatedly to meetings helped me immensely.
That's the thing. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. And what you're saying about, like, a room full of people being honest, like, that just... like, I almost had a little bit of an emotional reaction hearing you talk about it because I remember how much I felt like it was just like it was like a balm to my soul. Like it was exactly what I needed in those times in my life that I went.
Yeah.
So here's the thing though. I always think about that thing they say, which what I thought it was, self-knowledge avails you nothing. Mm-hmm. That's what I always thought it was.
Okay.
And I'm a person who's very like, I've been in therapy for a long time.
Right.
I'm like all about self-knowledge.
I
feel like awareness and you know, understanding yourself is such a huge thing.
Yeah.
So, and yet I always remember this line, and I don't know if it's in the big book or where it is, but it's something that I've heard in meetings a ton of times, self-knowledge avails you nothing. But recently I looked it up and I learned it's actually, and maybe you already know this, it's self-knowledge availed us nothing.
Yeah.
It's that like when you were using knowledge of yourself my understanding of it totally shifted, because it's not that now self-knowledge avails us nothing. It's that then it didn't help us.
It's about a very specific, I think, type of addict too.
Which is what? The one who's like, I know what I'm doing?
The one who thinks they're smarter than the room. The one who thinks they're smarter than every other drug addict who's ever come before them. It's like the difference between me and these other assholes is that I know I'm a drug addict. I know why I'm using. I know all of the underlying fucking like subconscious traumas I'm dealing with.
Right.
And knowing that, all I have to do is avoid these triggers and I can do this on my own. It's basically just an excuse for why you don't need all this stuff because I already know. You're not going to teach me anything that I don't know already. And of course, the point of meetings is not to teach you stuff you don't. It's like you will learn about yourself in 1,000 different ways, and none of them have to do with reading a book. Right. You know, like you might, of course, learn stuff from reading the basic text or from reading the big book, but like, if it were the case that you could, like, self-knowledge is enough to get clean, then people just read the book
and be done. Yeah, no, it's the community.
It's honestly, that's the whole thing to me.
It's the fellowship.
Like the steps, I think, are very important. I think they can be incredibly helpful. But like at the end of the day, it's a group of people, addicts getting together who all have had similar experiences, who have all, even if they, haven't like done the same drugs, the same amount of time, they haven't lost the same amount of shit, they haven't dealt with the same amount of consequences. It's knowing those feelings, and knowing, especially for addicts and alcoholics, just like a very specific type of thing. And talking about it in like an open and honest way, and just keeping each other, like holding each other accountable. Like that is the shit. Like, I had a group of friends who I think were all, and they're still my friends to this day, who, they all drank, they all like did drugs, but they were all like wonderful people. Very few of them were actually addicts. Only one of that group of friends who had the intervention helped him once he had his issues. And they're all like great people, but there's really nothing compared to a group of addicts all getting together in a room and talking about their shit and making friends and fellowshipping and like going out and just kind of like having someone to call when you're dealing with shit that you fucking don't really want to tell someone who doesn't have similar experiences. I mean, it's like growing to trust people. And I think for some people, they don't even have like that initial group of friends who are all totally like fine and good. And, it's not just about like, oh, you need friends. It's like you need a community of addicts.
Right.
And that, I think that keeps people clean more than anything else.
Yeah.
But that's my experience. That's what keeps me clean more than anyone else. I know some people who swear by the steps. I know some people who swear by service, like going and like having commitments at different meetings and stuff. For me, it's all been about going to meetings and service to people, not just service commitments at meetings. Like service to, mostly as a clean person, I have like one of the things that's helped me stay clean is meeting a new person, especially in comedy, who's like calls me up and is like, I know you're however many years sober. I have some issues, and can you help take me to a meeting? That's kept me clean more than anything. Is like taking other comics to meetings and watching them get clean. And, sometimes I feel bad because I don't have like the same meeting attendance that I once did. I mean, I'm not as involved as I once was, but most of my comedian like friends are all addicts. And I'm like, well, for me, that says something. It says that I like being surrounded by addicts who are trying to get better and trying not to use. So that's what works for me. So
you went to college with Vince, right?
No. He went to like, what did he go to, like Columbia? Something like that? No.
He did?
Yeah. I think so. Well, for grad school. I don't know where.
Oh.
No, you went to San Diego? UC San Diego.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I went to Santa Cruz. I didn't know Vince until the stand-up comedy scene in San Francisco.
Okay. Well, then I'm not going to ask if he knew.
Oh, no. Yeah. No, I didn't meet Vince till I was nice and sober. But I was also a fucking weirdo, so he loved me before that.
So before, though, I had said, like, do you know, and I'm sure it's a huge constellation of stuff, but basically, like, if someone were to say, like, well, why did you use? Like, were you running away from something? Or what do you think?
I think for me, it was just I just have lots of like anxiety, and I've a lot of for me, there's not like a specific trauma. It wasn't like I was dealing with any number of traumas that you can use to be like, oh, that's why they do that. For me, it really was a self-medication thing about my brain and the way my brain attacks me, and the way my thoughts attack me, the way that like the way I cope with any kind of anxiety. It was just like, it just helped me. Drugs were very helpful for me to not be a depressed person, to not be an anxious person, to, like it made me more sociable and more confident. I mean, and that's like I'm not doing an advertisement for drugs, but you ask any drug addict, like a lot of times there's a lot of drug addicts who are like, well, the drugs saved my life early on.
Yeah.
And that's true of, I think a lot of people, is just like, it's a self-medication thing. And I just, for me, it was like, what if every day I could be like, chill? Like, what if every day I was like happy, and not filled with like crushing anxiety and stuff. And there's all sorts of like diagnoses. Like I have ADHD or whatever. Who doesn't? But like, I don't know how to diagnose it other than like, I just had some severe fucking head case stuff going on where I was just, and to this day I still have that stuff. I just cope differently. Do you deal with depression? I don't. I do, but I don't have I don't have clinical depression. But I have ADHD, I have anxiety, and I'm sure I have all sorts of other shit in the DSM-6 or whatever number it's on now. But yeah, I mean, people cope with that shit sometimes through legitimate quote unquote medications and sometimes through recreational drug use. And, I mean, shit, half of that shit could just be adolescence. Who knows? But yeah, I feel like I don't have like an origin story so much as like I just was introduced to drugs early on and was pretty sure that they weren't just going to automatically kill you, or you wouldn't end up with like one arm in the hospital like Jared Leto at the end of fucking Requiem for a Dream. I forgot that's how it ends. Yeah, he's got the little wing. Fuck him. And watching that movie, I was just like, well, yeah, stop shooting in that arm. He's got all these beautiful veins all throughout his. He's got a butthole. He's got a butthole. Like the fact that he's just like, oh, I'm gonna use the most disgusting vein. It's like, this was written by someone who's never done a drug. Do you think so? Oh yeah, or has never done heroin or any intravenous drugs, right? Because nobody would shoot in that vein. He had a whole other arm. Yeah. You just shoot. It took me right out of the movie. For me, I was like, and also they would do this thing. It was like they did a bunch of like quick cuts, and then he shoots up, and then his eye expands, and I'm like, nope, opposite. It pins. Yeah. Tony, have you seen Requiem for a Dream?
Once a long time ago.
Real disturbing movie.
It's disturbing. Very much. It's the only time this has ever happened to me. I usually can like handle things all right. And literally that movie, I saw it in the theater. Credits came up. I turned to my friends. I was like, I don't feel good. I'm gonna run to the bathroom.
Did you throw up?
I didn't actually throw up, but when I was trying to find the bathroom, then at this movie theater, the bathroom was upstairs, and I'm like, oh my God. And I literally was like grabbing the arm rail with both hands. Like,
See, that's what I felt like the movie was for. It felt like a really arty after school special.
Yes.
To me. And just because it was so, this is what happens with drugs. Like the performances are great. Ellen Burstyn is like that's like one of the greatest performances ever.
Yeah.
She's so good in that movie. So taking nothing away from her, but that character of like, hey, Ma, Jared Leto's character of like, hey, Ma, I gotta take the TV and then I'm gonna pawn it and then I'm gonna get it back. That way I get the drugs. I was like, what is this? Is this like a 1970s guy? Like, what is this character? It's so
Right.
dumb. And then like their whole, I don't know, the whole thing to me, I was just like, talk about like, that's the thing about drugs is that if you try to sell a don't do drugs thing with the most like fucking intense, like you're gonna lose your arm, you're gonna be in the hospital and you're hot, like Jared Leto, that actually doesn't make you not want to do drugs. I feel like that is part of the
Well, it's fear-mongering.
It's fear-mongering, and it's also part of like what people need to know is that there's drugs are actually the least glorious thing. The most of drugs is like, at least with opiates, is gonna sleepy. It be sleepy baby. Is most of it is incredibly mundane because it's not like this like fucking cool journey. It's just like a slog. It's a job. It's like you give yourself the job of staying high. And the stuff that you do to get high is like stupid. It's just you do a bunch of stupid shit, and all so that you can sit for an extended period of time and not think. And so it's like to be like, oh no, look at this. It's like he's lost his arm.
Yeah, his descent into
it's
hell.
too it's not glorifying it, but it's like in a way it is. You know what I mean? And it's like, but no one wants to watch a movie about a drug addict too. That's why I love The Wire. Actually, is that is the most honest portrayal of drug addiction ever through Bubbles' character.
I haven't seen The Wire.
Oh yeah, I know you haven't because I want you on my pod.
I know, and I really want to come on.
Yeah, but you have to
Tell me how. Okay, Tony, have you seen The Wire?
I have. It's been a while.
How many seasons till it hooks you? Because my understanding is it's a lot.
I know. Okay, so there's 5 seasons altogether. They're all about 12, 13 episodes. Except for the last one's like 10. It's hard to say. Everyone's different because sometimes that first season, it takes people multiple episodes to like get hooked into it because it throws you into the deep end. It's incredibly dense. Every conversation that they're having, there's no exposition where they go like, oh, there he is, Rawls, the colonel of the homicide unit of Baltimore. It's just like
They just expect you to figure it out.
Eventually you will figure it out. Eventually you will, and they, names happen, and it's just like what? So sometimes it takes people a couple episodes. Sometimes it takes them like halfway through the season, and then the second season they shift the focus away from all the people you just learned about, and so it's like a lot of people drop off at that second season. But let me tell you that if you just allow yourself the space to watch it, like uninterrupted and like paying attention, but not trying to pay attention to every detail.
Okay.
Just let the story wash over you the way any other would. Eventually you get a feel for what's important and what's not important. And the show is so good that upon rewatch, all the shit that you thought was like not important becomes the most fascinating shit on the show. But the first time around, you're just going to just enjoy what you would enjoy as a regular person. The way I would watch the show is watch it as a show about how the police really are. Like, watch it as a show about how the police don't want to work, how nobody wants to do the job of detective, and how city policing the city policing budget should be cut.
Yeah.
Watch it from a perspective of like, oh, this is what it's actually like to be both a policeman and someone who sells drugs. Yeah. I mean, it's not boring, but it feels like it's going to be boring. It's hard to sell this show because the reasons I like it now are not the reasons I liked it then. Then I guess when the first time I watched it, I liked it because it was cool seeing what like probably the most accurate depiction of the way the drug game works in the Baltimore projects or in projects in general work. Like seeing that depiction going, oh wow, this is like, because it's written by David Simon and Ed Burns. One was a detective and the other one was a journalist for the Baltimore Sun. So there's no embellishing. There's no villainizing of, it's not good guys versus bad guys. It's not cops and robbers.
It's not Law and Order SVU.
It's not Law and Order SVU. It's like, everyone is, the motivations of the cops and the drug dealers are the same. And you see that kind of like, you see the parallels between it and you go, oh yeah. And then when you humanize both of these jobs, you kind of see where the like, oh, this is why the drug war will never work. And you start basically coming to a bunch of other conclusions about society that you maybe haven't before, because before you saw a little bit more in black and white. But it's also really funny, and it's subtly funny, but it is incredibly funny at times.
All right, I'll watch it. Right now I am finishing Fleischman is in Trouble. Have you seen that?
No.
It's good. And then maybe I'll watch The Wire. Maybe I'll do it.
You should.
Then I can come on your show.
I would love it because it's a great show. And you're a great guest. You were on our Sopranos podcast, and you are two of my favorite episodes.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. So we have some questions that people have sent in. I am on patreon.com/Allison Rosen. There's all sorts of rewards. You can get bonus episodes of the Friend Zone, my Patreon podcast. Just where you can text me and I'll text you back. You can see videos of the Thursday show, all sorts of stuff. This video though, youtube.com/Allison Rosen. Please subscribe, like, comment, do all the things. Leave it running when you go out of the room. But people can send in their questions and get them to the head of the line. I also take them on Twitter, and we have a little song.
When we ask, they send them in. They're wondering how you have been. So thanks so much for answering these questions from our fans.
All right. Charles Evanescence wants to know. Charles Evanescence Cheese.
Yeah, Charles E. Cheese. Chuck E. Cheese.
Does his mom still drive that minivan? He knows the one.
No, that minivan broke down. He's referring to a minivan in which one time when I was a single person, I told the story on the Frotcast. I met a girl and I took my mom's minivan to go pick her up, and we're making out and stuff. And she was like, I've always wanted to feel what it was like to choke a man. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I was in the front seat and she straddled me and I was like, yeah, this is hot. And then she really choked me very hard. And I was like, ugh. And then I kind of like pulled her hands back and just like, because I was like, no. Because it was like very startling. And then when I did that, she spit in my face.
Oh.
And I was like, okay. I think I put her on the side seat. I was like, that was a strange experience. And she was like, oh, sorry. I'm sorry about that. And I was like, and you know what? She was so beautiful that I was like, that's okay. Anyways. Yeah, no, that minivan's gone.
Okay. But what memories?
Yeah.
Tim McDermott wants to know, what does quicksand feel like? Is this a reference too?
Yeah, these are all going to be references. I've never been in quicksand. I've talked about the existence of quicksand porn on the Frotcast before, and so now
that's a thing.
Yeah, it's a porn where sometimes there's not even nudity; it's just women sinking slowly, and they're just like, "Help!" and it's kind of, there's like, I don't know, it's a little bit hot. I don't know why it's hot. but it exists, and I talked about it on the Frotcast, and now everyone's gonna give me references, give me shit for.
So, like, the porn studios though have quicksand.
No,
to
this was
film them
one
in?
very specific studio, called, what was it called? Like Quicksand Visuals or some shit like that, and yeah, they just find like a mud bog. They pretend it's quicksand, and then they pretend that they're sinking in quicksand. Sometimes they're topless, but
I wouldn't even know how to find a mud bog.
well, yeah. I mean, obviously, I would assume they live near one,
Right.
Because who just would even consider a mud
Yeah.
bog as a? But yeah,
So set.
yeah, as a set. But yeah, then I watched it and I felt strange because it did turn me on, and then I realized that was the whole genre of porn.
What was the turn on about it?
I don't know.
Okay.
There was a time when I was a little kid, I remember, before I had like sexual feelings, where I would see quicksand in stuff and I would get like aroused.
Oh my God, it was the quicksand, not the woman, that turned you on?
I think it was the idea of slowly being sucked into a thing. Is the same thing with like people, like the idea of getting squeezed and eaten by a snake. That also made me
Excited?
Yeah, but like a childhood excited, where
Yeah.
you're not horny because you don't know what horny is, but you're like, you're feeling feelings that you don't understand.
Okay, I'm going to share something that I've never talked about on the show.
Hell yeah.
I remember being at my friend's house, and like, I don't know what game we were playing. It was not sexual though, but I feel like they like covered me with a blanket and then sat on me.
Yeah.
And this was young,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
youngest sort of sexual charge you can get.
Yeah.
I remember having like being super like into that feeling.
Yeah.
And I've never pursued it.
Yeah. I mean, I would suggest
Being eaten by a snake?
get eaten by a snake. Or I mean, so they would put a blanket on you and then
Yeah, it wasn't like a game that happened often.
but they
in
sat
this-
on you.
Yeah, I was like covered by a blanket, and then the weight of people was on me.
And there was something sexual, like sexually
Yeah.
charged in it as a little kid, which is
I
not
think
sexual.
so. So yeah, I didn't identify it as sexual, but it was like a rush.
It was
in looking back.
Yeah, you're
maybe
like,
erotic
that,
or something.
Yeah, well, and some sort of arousal was going on.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? That's the thing. Is like I never once would have considered the idea that seeing someone slowly drown in quicksand would turn me on. But then I discovered it accidentally. I was on YouTube and there was this video. I don't know how it was like down a rabbit hole, and then I was like just watching this really
That also turns people on.
yeah, going down a rabbit hole.
yeah.
Yeah. But it was cheesy and I was like, what is this? And then she was just like, help. And I was like, this is so weird. How did I? And as I was watching it, I was like, oh, wow. That's, I don't know what.
Right. What are you feeling?
I don't know. Exactly, dog. Like that shit got weird. Yeah.
Duncan, would he rather eat 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck? Which sauce would he use?
100 horse-sized.
Duck-sized horses.
Duck-sized horses.
Yeah.
Or one horse-sized duck.
Would you
Horse-sized
rather
duck.
eat? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because I'd rather eat a duck,
Than a horse. And
yeah.
what sauce would you use?
There's a lot of good duck sauces out there. I would use duck sauce. That
makes sense.
That's a good one. But also, like, I would have some barbecue sauce with it. Maybe I would have some buffalo duck. I would do every sauce. That's a horse size.
Yeah, you got a lot.
That's a lot of duck.
Go to
Yeah.
Arby's, get that horsey sauce.
Oh, that's such good. I love Arby's duck.
Dre 3 Money, and this is the last one.
Uh-huh.
How does he lum so hard?
And this is another Frotcast. Fucking, this is the problem with asking Twitter. Is anyone who knows me is going to only ask the most specific questions that are only people who listen to the podcast.
See, I figured you might get some good Mythical Morning questions.
No, people on Good Mythical Morning, they only know me as the characters I play for the most part, which is like basically just a couple different ones that they keep having me back over and over. I love working at Mythical. I don't understand what they see in me. But
how did that come about?
I was it was the last thing that my manager got me. Me and my manager, he broke up with me. He was like, I don't have the bandwidth, and I was just like, don't bandwidth me, you fucking asshole. And yeah, he forwarded me this. You know, they wanted a self tape, and And I sent them a self-tape, and then I got it. And then I didn't know the show. I was like, I think I know those guys. And then at this point, they'd hired a bunch of people to be like part of like the Mythical crew as like an on-camera talent. And it was a lot of fun. It was great. But then one by one, like those people stopped coming to work. And then I just was like the last one standing, and I don't know why. I think people like me, and that is the reason why. They're just like, oh, Matt's cool, let's have him back. Even though like one of the characters I play is like there's this two food service workers, me and Patty, played by Emily Fleming, who's a writer and performer on that show. She's amazing. And I play this guy Domino's Dirk, and we wrote this whole like love arc for us. And like anyone who's a fan who's like on Reddit or anything, they're just like, what is this? I hate this. So cringy. And I'm like, yeah, I'm right there with you, man. But the more you're angry at it, the more I want us to do it. So we just kept leaning into it. And eventually, like, we had like a whole wedding. We did a whole Mythical wedding where it was me and Dirk and Patty get married. We just had a Dirk and Patty baby shower. Like, one of the things I love about the Mythical people is their commitment to the like creative content over the like the loudest, most negative fans out there who are just like, I only want this. And it's just like, yeah, well, you know, listen, it's all slop. You're going to eat the slop or you're not going to eat the slop. Eat the slop. I say, here's the thing about all fans, piggies. I'm a piggy, you're a piggy. We all love our slop. The problem with the internet is we all get to complain about the slop. Oh, the slop wasn't good this week. I don't like this guest on the Slopcast. Guess what? It's slop. You're going to eat it anyways, you fucking hog.
Oh, I love this. First of all, it's respectful of the listener.
It's respectful of the
and respectful of the show.
Listen, I'm just saying, you got to have a healthy amount of disdain. Yeah. A healthy amount of disdain. And I'm a piggy for stuff. I'm a piggy for the wire. They serve me up a little wire, I'll pig out. Put it in the trough, I'll get my little snout in it.
Yeah, I mean, I've had similar thoughts, which are like, there's shows that I love, that I watch every single week.
Yeah.
And I definitely have opinions about this or that, but I don't want them to change it because of my opinion. Part of the joy of it is complaining about the slop.
Right, exactly. And, you know, it's never going to always be to your liking.
Yeah.
But, you know, don't respond to the piggies. You're the farmer. You put out.
This is so inspirational.
You put out the slop. They come to you. And, you know, if they leave, there's 1,000 other piggies who want the slop. So you just say, you know, do you. You're going to make content. You do it for yourself. You don't respond to every single fan. You don't like make it perfect because you're never going to please everybody. So, yeah. And if anyone from Mythical listened to that whole thing, JK, obviously you guys are all great. I love the fan. No, but the people who are Mythical fans who like the Dirk and Patty stuff, I'm always like, see, you guys are cool because you understand that it's supposed to be silly and stupid, and they're just kind of letting us have fun. And the people who hate it, hey, you know what? There's more slop out there for you.
Matt, it was so nice having you on the show. How are we doing?
Minute and 30 seconds.
All right.
We can do it. All right. Tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me. When does this episode come out?
Monday.
Okay, so Monday.
Yeah.
Okay. You can find me at Matt Lieb on Twitter or at Matt Lieb Jokes on Instagram. Also, listen to my podcast, Pod Yourself a Gun. Right now, we're doing The Wire. More importantly than anything else, you don't even have to listen to it. If you just go to Pod Yourself a Gun on Apple Podcast Store and you give us 5 stars in a review, that would be sick. Because you know what? I saw you got like so many reviews, dog. You got like 6,000 reviews. I just want to hit 1,000. We're like almost there.
Do it.
Pod Yourself a Gun, Apple Podcast Store, and also listen to it. But mostly give us 5 stars in a review.
And then also, I mean, yes, I have a lot, but I need more. So if you like what you're hearing, or even if you don't, please Even if you don't, please make sure you're subscribed, tell a friend, all the things you do for a podcast. Click 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. Leave us a review. We read them on the show. Follow me on social media at Allison Rosen on Twitter and Instagram. I already mentioned Patreon. I'm also on Cameo and youtube.com/Allison Rosen. Tony, what about you?
Twitter and Instagram at
Tony Thaxton.
And Bizarre Albums every Tuesday.
We're racing against the clock because we're about to run out of space.
10 seconds.
You guys, thank you so much for listening. I love you. You matter. Goodbye.
Hey, do you know about the Allison Rosen Show?